Alright, just take note that this presentation is purely for educational purposes. It does not take into account specific investment objectives, financial situation, or particular needs of any particular person. Okay, so moving along. Now this week is going to be quite a big week for news. Yeah, I mean we have two major central banks deciding what's going to happen. FOMC meeting, I think it's about 2 a.m. Thursday morning Singapore time, and then later in the same morning at about 11 or anywhere between 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. noon, that's where the BOJ minutes will come out. So two big news on the calendar. Please be very careful when you're trading, because at the end of the day, trading, most important is risk management. Okay, you don't want to be caught unaware when news is coming out. Okay, but a few good lessons in the markets for the past 1-2 weeks. Any one of you got caught by the yen movement? So like pound yen, dollar yen, I think 2 weeks ago it was dropping like nobody's business, isn't it? And early last week, the whole move actually U-turn. Alright, any one of you got caught? I got caught in one of it. Not say caught, I mean I was sitting in really good profits, but the whole thing U-turn. Later I'll cover a bit that on when I talk about FX. But I was shorting pound yen, I think last Friday, and over the weekend it gapped down, which made me even happier. I think because the catalyst was that the OPEC meeting in Doha could not reach an agreement, so market panic came back to the market, so yen strengthened and a lot of the pound yen, dollar yen dropped further and gapped down actually on Monday. But then the same afternoon the whole move U-turn. Yeah, so I mean it's one of those things whereby the market will do whatever it wants to do. You got to always protect yourself, because I got some clients who were short on dollar yen as well, and when the whole thing U-turn, they're still holding on to their shorts right now. Okay, so you got to be flexible enough to know when the market is turning and when to get out, and got to accept how the market is moving. Okay, don't try to have a fixed perception of what the market is trying to do, because at the end of the day, the market is random. All right, so let's start. Let's move on with the indices first. So let me bring up my MT4 chart, so you can see this is all the daily charts of the various indices that we have, from the DAX to the S&P, the CAC, the Nikkei, the Hang Seng. I mean, generally you can see everything here. These are all, let me switch this. These are all daily charts, by the way. Okay, so you can see that most of the indices, in fact, all indices here are actually on a really nice uptrend. Okay, really nice uptrend. All right, so if you're a trend trader, you should stick in terms of following the trend and go long. But just got to be a bit careful this week, because we are approaching key resistance levels. So the reason why I bring up MT4 is just for you to have a quick glance. Okay, this is what I use MT4 for. I use it to have a quick glance of what's happening around me in terms of indices, FX, commodities, just to see what's the strongest trend, what's moving, what's a nice looking chart to trade on. Then when I select which chart to trade on, then I zoom into my pro real time and I plan to trade around it. Okay, but the market scan is very important to me, because I want to see which is the easiest chart to trade, and basically you're trying to pair the strongest versus the weakest, especially for FX. Okay, so let me start with the S&P. Okay, a bit of lesson for me as well. I mean, if you look at the indices right now, this is the weekly chart of the S&P. Okay, this whole move here, okay, it was actually one straight bullish movement, and I was pretty reluctant to trade every time when we're near resistance, because it just keep moving up, and I always try to wait for a pullback and things like that, because my thinking was that it's a bit too high and it can't seem to move up anymore and things like that. But the market has been proving me wrong day after day. Okay, so a lesson for me, and you might want to take this lesson as well, is you got to follow the sentiment, especially the market. Of course, if it's near the resistance area, then you got to be a bit careful if you're playing too long. But if there's no resistance up the way and the market is going up, especially on the short-term charts, then just try to follow it. All right, don't think too much. All right, most of the times we get into our own way when it comes to trading. Okay, so I mean, if you look at the weekly chart, so weekly chart, yes, it seems like just one big move, but if you zoom into like a 4-hour chart and things like that, you can see actually there was quite decent movements in terms of trending upwards. Okay, you can see that this area here, for example, consolidated into a wedge, and then broke up, and then just formed high, 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 low, high, 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 low, high, high. So Many times here, there's a chance where you can take intraday trades to the upside. Okay, it's possible. But having said that, now if you look at the weekly chart, okay, let me take away this trend line, which is no longer valid. But if you look at the weekly chart, you can see that we are at the area whereby, you know, the momentum is a bit waning. It's a bit waning. I mean, there's no divergence, nothing like that. Weekly chart still looks bullish, but around the 2100 level, okay, that's definitely resistance. You can see that in November last year, I think we spent 5 to 6 weeks here without breaking it, and then the whole market just U-turned downwards. Okay, so we are at that point right now whereby a lot of market participants are going to ask, you know, what's next? Okay, so even if you're bullish, I would say keep it really short term for now. Okay, because we are very near resistance. Going to the daily chart, okay, you can see that the daily chart is still making a series of higher highs and higher lows. I don't see any divergence here. It's a convergence, so the momentum is still upside, but it's just we are at that point right now. My take is that we will start to consolidate around this level here before the market decides what it wants to do. Because even if it wants to make a push up and break 2100, now remember, this is quite a significant level to break, yeah? Because this whole level here, if I just draw a line across near the 2100 level, okay, this whole level here, alright, the last time we were at 2100 was September, October last year. Okay, so the whole of half year 2015, we are unable to break the level, so we are at that level right now. Of course, if we break the next level, we're looking at is around the 2130 level, which we were at between April to May period in 2015. Okay, but I expect some form of consolidation here before the market decides what it wants to do. If you look at the 4-hour chart, okay, you can see that what's happening right now is a bit of consolidation. It's quite similar to what's happening here. Okay, so you don't be surprised if you see a few weeks of or 1 or 2 weeks of more consolidation. Maybe you come back down to 2080, and then the market decides what it wants to do. Okay, so most of the indices look like that, like right now actually. It's facing key levels to look out for. Okay, so I don't see any really long-term positions in terms of position or swing trading for the indices. So I would say just keep it short-term for now. Until we break key levels to the upside, then maybe you can take a longer term trade. But right now we're just approaching key resistance levels. Okay, some clients might be asking, is it a good time to short? Well, we are in a higher probability zone for bears to come in. But having said that, there's no confirmation yet. Okay, when I mean confirmation means I would like the daily chart. So let's take this for example here. Oops, sorry. Let's take this level for example here. Okay, so there was a bit of resistance, right? That's why the market came down. But at no point of time did the market break the low of 2030 or so. Okay, and if there is no lower low, price action says that if there's no lower low, there is no change of trend. So this is a good example here that the market is simply consolidating before pushing up again. Now, where we are right now, I foresee that there's a bit of similar price action here. We might consolidate a bit first before the market knows what it wants to do. All right, so don't be too gung-ho and just short and expect the whole market to drop back to the previous support at 1854. Okay, it's good to wait for confirmation. Now look at this area here. How long we consolidate around this whole area before it really dropped. All right, and it formed a key support at 2000. So when it broke, it really dropped. Okay, so similar here. Just see what happens if you're bearish. All right, don't just jump in like that because you are against the momentum and against the trend, which can be very dangerous. Okay, so that S&P for you. I mean, I won't cover too much the US indices because they look pretty much the same. Let's look at the DAX. Again, you guys got any questions? Feel free to tap into the question box. Yeah. Okay, so the DAX. Let me just extend this line here. Okay, I drew this channel I think a couple of weeks back, and back then the key level was around 10,000. Okay, now the weekly is on an uptrend within the channel. The key level was 10,000, and when it broke, yes, is that the uptrend is definitely strong. So my take is that there's a chance that the market might push further up, and then to the next resistance level, probably around 10,700 or so, which is also the channel trendline resistance. Okay, this is a weekly chart. But the market has made a significant higher high, and we might make another higher low, maybe back to 10,000, then push higher, back to the resistance of the trend line, of the channel. Okay, I don't see any divergence. Everything looks good to go to the upside. Daily chart, nice uptrend as well. So daily and uptrend, weekly and uptrend. Looks like we're going to make a push towards the 10,007 level. Okay, but again, all this technical analysis does not mean anything if fundamentally the FOMC comes out to say something surprising or things like that. Okay, because the FOMC is quite big news. So always be mindful of what's happening in the fundamental side of things, and don't be caught with your pants down. Okay, so just be very mindful. But for the in terms of technical setup, DEX looks good to the upside. Let me see where's a good level. I'm hoping that it will come back down to maybe 10,150 level, somewhere around here. And then hopefully we can make another push higher. Okay, so I'm eyeing for it to come back down, maybe somewhere around here. Okay, previous resistance to support, and then you can take it up to the upside. Okay, but it looks bullish. It looks bullish at the moment for the DEX. Alright, you see the 4-hour chart, short-term chart, it's just consolidating in some form of a flag, something like that. Okay, so just be a bit mindful, and then plan your trade accordingly. But definitely looks bullish. The DEX looks bullish. Now let's look at the CAC. Okay, let's look at the CAC weekly chart. Okay, same thing as the DEX. You see that it has made a very significant higher high compared to this high. See this? It's made a significant higher low compared to this low. So again, find a good retracement. I think it will make another push higher because it is an uptrend. Nice convergence on the indicators. I don't see any divergence. Daily chart looks an uptrend. This is a nicer chart than DEX. Okay, resistance and support is anywhere around the 4510 area. Okay, so I like to see the market come back slightly down, maybe back to support around the 4500, 4510, and then we might be able to make a push higher. Okay, but daily is an uptrend, weekly is uptrend. Very nice in the CAC. All right. Any questions so far on all the indices? And now I'll move on to Asia, the Asian indices. All right, there's nothing. Let me go on to the Hang Seng. Okay, one lesson that I learned for the past year or so is that never try to force a trade. Okay, there's a reason why they say trading, the biggest part of it is psychology. Because many of the times, when we're so fixated by what we think we know, we try to force a trade. Okay, but trust me, once you get past that psychology barrier of, thinking that you know what the market will do without just plainly following the charts, trading will be much easier. You get to the point, I call it the sweet spot, whereby you're just basically a slave to the market. You're just following the momentum. That's about it. Sometimes you're wrong, sometimes you're right, but more often than not, because you know your strategy, you know that the probability is on your side, overall you still make money. Okay, so find your sweet spot in trading. I mean, it takes time. I won't deny it. Definitely takes time because number one, you need to know what type of trader you are, and number two, the toughest part is finding out your bad habits. Okay, it's finding out what you normally do that's eating up your profits. Like for example, I used to take a lot of stupid trades. So like even last week, all right, even last week I had a really good week trading. I think 3-4 pairs. And then on Friday, I was out, but I didn't really analyze the chart, and I took a trade, okay, thinking that it will come down or it looks bearish, but the trade didn't work out, and because I didn't really calculate my stop loss properly, it actually wiped out half of my profits for the week. Okay, on hindsight, I'm really kicking myself, but it's just one of those lessons. Okay, so always, be disciplined. Now always pick the best trades, and risk management as well, very, very important. Okay, so if you look at the Hang Seng weekly chart, okay, let me delete some of the lines here. Okay, I drew that line because you see this 20,000 level. When the 20,000 level was broken, right, it tells that it is really, really bullish. So let's look at the, okay, let me delete some of the lines here. Okay, so if this 20,000 level for me was quite key, and it broke through it, okay, and it's made a significant higher high. All right, the next level of resistance that it should be facing is where we are right now, around the 21,500 level. All right, this next level of resistance. Okay, but the weekly chart has definitely made a bounce up. Okay, I wouldn't say there's a, this higher high, 20,000 seems to be quite a good resistance, but it broke through it clearly, so it is a bit more bullish right now. if you look at the daily chart of Hang Seng, it is bullish. Okay, just seriously, it's just making a series of higher highs and higher lows. What I think is that it might come back down to 20,000 or so. Okay, because if you look at the weekly chart again, let me just go back to the weekly chart. Okay, it might consolidate anywhere around here. Okay, because it broke 20,000. 20,000 is a key level, definitely a key level. Okay, but if you draw a line across here, okay, you can see that this resistance have been broken. Okay, 20,000 is a key level, and right now I would say it will consolidate back to 21,000. Alright, honestly, the Hang Seng is a bit of a tough read. It looks a bit more bullish, but I'm just really wary of the resistance level at around 21,500. Alright, so look at the daily chart, definitely on an uptrend. Okay, but this whole area here, 21,500. Alright, I would think that it will consolidate back to maybe 20,000 or so, and then the market decide what will happen then. Okay, but if you see that if you look at the daily chart, right? If you look at this swing and this swing, and this swing and this swing, okay, it seems like I mean, one client pointed out to me, but just to highlight that there's no divergence here. Okay, both swings are higher, forming higher high. All right, so I'd like to see what happens when it gets back to this 21,000 support level, resistance and support level, and see whether it can push higher. Okay, but in terms of the MACD, there's no divergence. It's converging. Okay, momentum is still on the upside. All right, so that's the Hang Seng for you. Let's see what's next. Let's go Nikkei now. Now Nikkei is quite tricky. As you go to the weekly chart, right? I wouldn't be touching Nikkei because the BOJ meeting. Okay, but the Nikkei, right? It was in a downtrend, lower low, lower high, and this area here was a pretty decent short. All right, if any of you caught it, I think my previous two webinars I mentioned that it's on downtrend, and it's on resistance. So at around the 17,000. So not surprisingly, it dropped from there, but then it formed a higher low. It formed a higher low. Okay, it was also a channel support. I remember I mentioned this in the last webinar. And true enough, this thing has reversed. So from a downtrend, it formed a higher low. Okay, so price action, when it forms a higher low, there are two things that might happen. It might either consolidate or it might reverse to the upside. So for this case, it reversed to the upside and make a very significant higher high. So what you want to see is for it to come back down near the 17,000 level, okay, and so this level here near 17,000, resistance to support, and maybe make a push up to meet the channel resistance area here, maybe around 18,000. Okay, but the weekly has made a higher high, so it's quite significant. In fact, it's made a higher low, and it's made a higher high. So for me, the weekly has reversed to the upside. Okay, so let me go to the daily chart right now. Okay, daily chart is just make one big spike up. Okay, not too convinced the uptrend in the daily chart yet, but again, the 17,000 level, once we get back around here, just about 300 points away, I'll like to see what's happening there. Okay, but I would say use the weekly chart as a guide because it's clearer. So anywhere between 17,000 to 17,002, that's the key level you can look out for to see whether it can make a push higher. Okay, my take that it might make a push higher because the weekly chart looks quite bullish now. All right, so that's the Nikkei for you. Xavier, will it be possible for the prices to be displayed larger? I have it as the standard size here. Yeah, what you can do is, Xavier, if you're not sure of the price levels, just give me a shout. I can read it out for you. Yeah, I mean, there are things that I can key in, but it's a bit slow to do that. Okay, so just shout out which one you want to highlight, and I can just tell you which price level it is. Yep, sorry about that. Okay, but again, the Nikkei, be mindful around the 17,000, 17,002 because that's the previous support. So it might make a push up from there next week or something. Okay, but the weekly has reversed to the upside. I hope you guys understand what I mean by reverse to the upside in terms of high low and high high, because this basic price action, which I think all of you should be quite familiar with. You have attended my webinars for a couple of times. Price action to me is a very, very important indicator. It's a leading indicator. Okay, it's a leading indicator. Okay, so that's the Nikkei for you. Now, any other indices you want me to cover? If not, I'll move on to FX soon. Oh yeah, not really STI. The one that we only have is Singapore Blue Chip. Okay, so let's go to Singapore Blue Chip. Okay, let's take a really long-term view first. Singapore Blue Chip is quite tricky as well. Okay, so this is a monthly chart. Okay, So monthly chart is actually one big fat consolidation, isn't it? Now it tried to break through the 300 support, and to me, when the market came below 300, it seems very convincing that the downtrend has prevailed. Okay, why I say downtrend is because it's made a key lower low, lower high, another lower low. Okay, but right now it seems to form some form of lower high. So the monthly chart is still slightly towards downside. Not the most bearish though, but it's still to the downside. Okay, so that is a monthly chart. Now, let's go to the weekly chart. Okay, the weekly chart, slightly different story, isn't it? Now what we see here, okay, it's a bit like a head and shoulders. Not the cleanest one, but this is the neckline. Okay, anywhere around 330. That is the neckline. The shoulder is around here. Let me do some line, it's a bit confusing. This. Okay, so the shoulder is somewhere around the 310 area. Alright, so you can see that it's forming a bit of a head and shoulders. I would use this 330 level as a guide to what might happen the next week or so. Because if you break this neckline, high chance that we might test the next level of resistance around the 350. If not, we might be coming down. So just take note of this weekly chart consolidation. Okay, on the daily chart, looks bullish. Okay, but can't read much for the daily chart. I would say use the weekly as a guide. Alright, use the weekly as a guide. Okay, if I'm going to go long to the upside, right, I want it to, the first level that you can look at is it must break the 330 first. So if you look at the daily chart, where's my 330 level? Hold on, 330, yep, this level. So this level where we are right now on the daily chart is good level of resistance, 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 support. So you can also see this trend line forming here. Okay, so this level is quite key here. Now the thing is, if you want it, if it's going to break above, right, remember the neckline, the head and shoulders neckline is here. So what you want to see if you're bullish is you want it to see start grinding up and breaking above here. Then we are looking at the 350 level only. Okay, however, if we break below this support trend line, then chances are it's making another consolidation. Alright, key thing to note is, alright, there's a bit of a divergence forming here. See this higher high compared to this high? Yeah, you see here? Okay, so you can see that the price has made a higher high, but the MACD has made a lower high. So this is a bearish divergence. Okay, this is a bearish divergence. Okay, so I mean, I would say that if you break this trend line, chances are we might come back to the shoulder. The shoulder is around this level here, isn't it? 315. Okay, but it seems like a bearish divergence on the Singapore blue chip. So just be a bit mindful on the daily chart. Let's go to the weekly chart again. Okay, so again, if it's a bearish divergence and it breaks downwards to the trend line, high chance we might come back down to the 315 shoulders area, and then we'll see what happens. Okay, that's the Singapore blue chip. You guys will take okay with that, Nancy, Xavier? It's not exactly STR, but I think it moves slightly quite similar. Okay, but just take note of this, I'll say this trend line here and the bearish divergence on the daily chart. Yeah. Okay, China A50. Thanks for pointing that, John. Okay, let's go to the weekly chart now. Okay, China A50 has been quite directional. Let's look at all these weekly candles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 weeks of doing nothing. It seems that, I was reading a report, it seems that Chinese are trading their commodities now and ignoring the stock market for now. I think the big problem now in China is the debt issue in terms of the government debt, in terms of non-performing loans to the banks. Just keep an eye on the issue. Yeah, it might be a big, it might be the next catalyst for the next leg down for a lot of the China indices. Okay, the debt issue, because I mean fundamentally it doesn't seem that the government is doing enough to stand the debt. The debt, because I think it's 2.5. The amount of debt that China has is about 2.5 times of its economy. That's really big. That's really big. And the concern is not the big banks. The concern are the second, third tier banks, especially the provisional states, whether they can, get back their non-performing loans. Because if it's like a domino effect, if the smaller banks get hit, sooner or later the big banks get hit, and I tell you, the stock market will go berserk. So that's the next problem in China that you need to keep an eye on. Okay, it's more of a fundamental thing. But looking at the charts, this level is very, very key, near the 10,000 level. Okay, 6 weeks, can't break it. So the good thing is that as a trader, you can just prepare yourself for a breakout to either side, because you know that there's a lot of stored up energy or tension among this between this level, and we'll see what it gives. Okay, so this is a weekly chart. Okay, but just take note that this level is very key. Around the 10,000 level, it's unable to break. Let's see what's happening in the daily chart. Okay, so daily chart, simply you just draw these two lines. Okay, what's interesting is that if you look at the MACD, right, it's forming a series of lower highs, lower highs, lower highs, but the price on the daily chart is forming triple tops. All right, this is also called a bearish divergence. Okay, not the strongest bearish divergence, because the strong bearish divergence will be when the price is making higher highs, but the indicator or the oscillator is making lower highs. But for this case, the price is not making higher highs, but making similar highs, double top, triple tops, but the oscillator is making lower highs, so it's still considered a bearish divergence. Okay, so the 9400 level is key to me, because the 9400 level is broken. Okay, high chance that we are going back to this support at 9200. Okay, but there's a bit of a divergence there. If you look at the weekly chart, yep, 9200 is the next. It might come back to 9000 even. All right, so just pay attention to this little channel on the daily chart to see what will happen in the next few weeks. Okay, I'm more inclined to think that it might come to the downside. Okay, but that's my bias. If it breaks above, I'm very happy to change my bias and just follow the charts. Okay, but just draw this channel on the daily chart and just put alarms on both sides and see what happens in the next coming weeks or so. All right, but it seems to be a consolidating at the moment. There's a daily chart. Okay, John. So this China A50. All right. So okay, I'm going to move on to FX now, and I'm going to take a 10-second pause.